Rents are rising, mortgages are still high. So the big question is, in 2025, do I rent or do I buy? The answer is more nuanced than ever before. Here's a full breakdown. So what's happening right now? Well, in Toronto, the average rent for a 2-bedroom is around $2,950, and that's more of a condo. If you want to get into a home, you're starting around $3,600. So prices aren't cheap for rent right now. And if we look at the 5-year fixed rate, we're around 4.55. That's kind of the average right now, what we're seeing. We were below 4 recently, but we've just come back up again. So start doing the numbers on that and you're going to start thinking, well, is it better to rent or is it better to buy? My name is Daniel Bozic. I'm broker owner of Danley Group Real Estate, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to go over different aspects of the real estate market in Ontario. When I think about my own experience, I was in a 1-bedroom apartment for $400 a month. My first house was $85,000. My mortgage was not much more than my rent was. So it was really a no-brainer for what I needed to do. Buying was a better choice than renting. But things are definitely different today. We're definitely off the 2022 highs, the prices, how high they were. We've come down, but we've stabilized. So now we have to look at the rents we just talked about compared with the prices that we're seeing today. So when does renting make sense? There's some different aspects you got to think about. Time frame is very important. If you maybe have 3 years or less where you're thinking of living somewhere, renting may be a better option in today's real estate market. But if you're more long-term, if you're having a family and you expect to live there 10 plus years, then buying may be the better option. So timing is very important, how long you're going to live at that home. We all have to look at our jobs and our income. How stable is our job? Do we have a job that we know that's going to be there a year, 2, 3 years from now? Or do we have an unstable work situation? So if it is a little unstable, renting may be a better decision. We'd hate to be under the burden of a mortgage, knowing that we may not have that same job a year from now. So really think about that in your situation. They can afford the mortgage, but they'd rather rent and they invest the difference. So when you see that, if somebody's mortgage payments would be $5,000 or $6,000 with the mortgage and taxes, and they can rent for $3,000, they take that other $3,000 and now they invest that money. And they figure out how much they'd have in 5 years. Is it going to be better than the real estate market or worse? Again, everybody's different, but I have seen people do that and then be much further ahead down the road by investing that difference than putting it in a house. Like, everybody has to look at this on their own situation, but that is something really to think about as well. When we think about it, even the down payment, like on average, you're going to have to put probably around 20% down. If you're buying something for around $600,000, that's $120,000. Now, if you rent, you take that $120,000, you invest it even if it's a simple stock at 7%, let's say, with a dividend, you're going to double that money every 10 years. So 120 becomes 240, becomes 480. So in 20 years, that 120,000 now has become almost $500,000. That's at 7%. If you can be a little aggressive, get to 10%, now you double every 7 years. That means you'd have $1 million off that 120 in 20 years. So you think about that sometimes. People have different avenues where they can invest their money. So when buying wins, as I mentioned earlier with renting, the time frame makes a big difference. So if it's minimum 5+ years, buying may be a better opportunity. If it's 10, even better. So timing is very important and how long you're going to live there. Do you want equity? Do you want long-term stability? Those two things really come into play when owning real estate. So people like that stability and they like that long-term growth that it's going to have. So if you like that, then buying may be a better opportunity or a better position to be than in renting. And if you have a family and you have children, that thought of leaving your kids something or leaving them that home really goes into your mind and thinking. So that's something to consider as well. And where you live is really important too. Some of the cities that you can go to, especially if you go outside of Toronto, you go to Kitchener or Niagara or Waterloo, then those are areas that are much less than Toronto, and that would be less than rent. If you're interested in that, you can always go back to my video talking about some of the best cities to live in affordability wise, and you can find that link right up here as well, over here. One other really good aspect of owning a home is forced saving. When you think about it, when you have a home and a mortgage, you're getting the appreciation of the house going up regularly. Historically, homes have gone up anywhere from 3 to 5% every year if you look at it over long term. So that's forced growth. You're making those payments, so you're paying down your mortgage. In the long run, you're definitely going to have more equity and more money than you did when you started. So it's forcing you to actually save money, as it were. When we look at a case study, there's a situation like somebody in Burlington. She rented for 6 years, spent $204,000 on rent, let's say. Now that money's gone, goes to the landlord, and there's nothing left. Now, if she would have bought, she would have paid about the same amount of money towards the mortgage. Now the house goes up in value. She's paid down the house, and now she has about $140,000 of equity, as it were, that she never would have had, that would have went all to the landlord. And when we think about inflation and her rent going up regularly, now her mortgage has gone down. She can renew her mortgage. Her mortgage would actually be less than the rent she would pay. So in this situation, it definitely would be better off buying than renting. So going over this information, in my personal opinion, the way the housing market has gone and how expensive homes are, I really believe for a lot of people, renting is the better option. When you're renting a home, you don't have to pay the taxes. You don't have to do the maintenance. That's all falls on the landlord. They have to pay all that. So your monthly payment is considerably less when you're renting. Now, if you've got the assets and the money, great job, and you want to own a home, I'm not saying you shouldn't be buying a home. Go ahead and buy a home. But right now, the way the markets are, they may change down the road. But I think looking at them today, I think people that don't have stable incomes or maybe only have one income in the family, renting may be the better option in today's real estate market. Still unsure? Comment below, rent or buy, and I'll send you a calculator to compare your exact numbers for 2025. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, I really appreciate a like, a share, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch more videos about the housing markets and how to navigate real estate in Ontario. And if you have any questions, leave them below in the comment section.